Good morning. I'm Elizabeth, and I hope you're doing well. Over the holidays, I had the chance to go to Colorado and visit my family, and my sister offered to sell us a vehicle of theirs at a really discounted rate, and this was so generous of her and such a blessing to our family. We decided to buy the car and for me to drive it back from Colorado to California. And on my road trip, I encountered a really big snowstorm with low visibility. I encountered rain, wind, fog, and terrible holiday traffic. And the trip just overall took way longer than I thought it was going to, and it was way more stressful. And boy, did I complain about it to anyone who would listen. When people would ask me about my holidays, oh, how are you doing? How was your Christmas? I'd say, well, let me tell you about my terrible road trip. It took me forever. I was in the worst traffic of my life. I was sitting there. It was so frustrating. And I would go on and on. I chose to see the negative and focus on that instead of remembering the positive, instead of remembering that God had blessed us with this awesome car. And I had the opportunity to drive through parts of the country that I'd never seen before and see beautiful mountains and landscapes and have time by myself, which never happens, and listen to amazing audiobooks. I failed to see the good in what was there. Have you ever found yourself in that position? Well, right now we're going through the different one another statements that we find in the Bible. And James 5:9 says, don't grumble against one another. Don't grumble against one another. Sometimes we're grumbling about the weather or about the traffic, and sometimes we're grumbling about another person. Maybe we're looking for somebody to blame or take our frustrations out on. Or maybe someone has said something or done something that we're really upset about, and sometimes we're just straight up fighting with someone. Well, this is not the invitation that God has for us. God invites us to love one another. God invites us to be at peace with one another and to find gratitude. And so I want to ask you today, is there a situation in your life where you are grumbling and you don't need to be? Maybe God wants to shift your perspective today. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about trauma and grief and loss. I know that some of you are going through terrible things right now, especially with the storms that we have been enduring, and you are finding yourself in a really difficult spot today. And I want you to know that God is with you in that, and there is certainly a place for grief and walking through those seasons of our life. What I'm talking about today are those moments in our everyday, those annoyances, those frustrations where we have a choice. Are we going to grumble and complain? Or are we going to choose to hold our tongue? Or maybe to look for the good, to look for the positive? So my prayer today is that God would give us his perspective, and that perspective would guide our words and our actions. I hope you have a great day.